The massive viewing screen showed the endless stars of space as Commander Jake Martinez walked across the bridge of the USS Vengeance. The ship was huge, with thick metal walls and bright lights that made everything look clean and perfect. Jake had been proud to serve on this ship for 3 years now. It was humanity's best warship, and they used it to help the Galactic Council keep peace across the galaxy. Jake stopped near the captain's chair and looked at his crew. They were all humans, men and women who had left Earth to serve alongside alien species they had never dreamed of meeting. The Council had welcomed Earth into their group 3 years ago, saying that humans were brave fighters who could help protect weaker worlds from pirates and criminals. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez walked up to Jake with a worried look on her face. She was holding a small datapad in her hands, and Jake could see that something was wrong. Amy was one of their best communication officers, and she rarely looked this upset about anything. "Commander Martinez, I need to show you something," Amy said quietly. She glanced around to make sure no one else could hear them. "I was checking the communication logs from our last mission, and I found something strange." Jake took the datapad from her hands and looked at the screen. The words were written in the Council's common language, but Amy had already translated them into English. As Jake read the message, his face grew pale and his hands started to shake. The message was from Admiral Zektar, the Zephyrian who commanded the Council's military forces. He was talking to another alien leader about the human ships in their fleet, but the words Jake read made his blood run cold. "The humans have served their purpose well," the message said. "They are excellent fighters, but they are becoming too strong. Their technology grows faster than we expected. Soon they will be a threat to our power. We must eliminate them before they realize what we have been doing." Jake read the message, again hoping he had misunderstood something. But the words were clear. The Council had been using human ships and crews as expendable soldiers, sending them to fight the most dangerous battles while keeping their own people safe, and now they wanted to get rid of humanity completely. "Amy, where did you find this?" Jake asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "It was in the encrypted files from our communication system," Amy replied. "I was trying to fix a small problem with our transmitter when I found a hidden data cache. There are more messages like this one, Commander, dozens of them." Jake felt sick to his stomach. For 3 years, he had believed that the Council valued humanity as partners and friends. Earth had sent thousands of their best people to serve in the Council's fleet. They had fought and died for what they thought was a noble cause. "Show me the other messages," Jake said. Amy pressed a few buttons on the datapad and more text appeared on the screen. Jake read message after message, each one worse than the last. The Council leaders talked about humans like they were tools or weapons, not living beings with thoughts and feelings. One message from a Corvani general said, "Send the human ships to the Vega system first. If there are mines or traps, they will trigger them. Our ships can follow safely behind." Another message from an Aldorian commander read, "The humans ask too many questions about our technology. We should limit what information we share with them. They must not learn our weaknesses." But the worst message came from the Council's High Chancellor himself. "Phase 2 will begin once the humans have cleared the Outer Rim territories. We will invite their leaders to a peace conference on Nexus Prime. Once they arrive, we will destroy their ships and execute their commanders. Earth will be left defenseless, and we can eliminate their entire species." Jake's hands were shaking as he handed the datapad back to Amy. Everything he had believed about the Council was a lie. They had never seen humans as equals or friends. They had only used humanity's courage and fighting spirit for their own purposes. "Amy, I need you to make copies of all these messages," Jake said. "Store them in multiple locations and encrypt them with our highest security codes. We need to get this information to Earth as quickly as possible." "Yes, sir," Amy replied. "But Commander, what about our mission? We're supposed to meet the Council fleet at the Rigel system tomorrow." Jake thought about their current mission. The Council had told them they were going to rescue colonists from a pirate attack. But now Jake wondered if that was another lie. Maybe they were being sent into another trap. "We'll continue with the mission for now," Jake said. "But we need to be very careful. I want all weapon systems ready and our shields at maximum power. And Amy, I want you to monitor all communications from the Council ships. If they try to betray us, we need to know about it immediately." As Amy walked back to her station, Jake stood alone on the bridge and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Captain Rick Thompson and his crew were flying toward what they thought was a rescue mission. Jake knew he had to warn them, but he also knew that the Council was probably monitoring their communications. Jake thought about his home on Earth, about the family he had left behind to serve in space. He thought about all the human soldiers who had died fighting for the Council, believing they were protecting innocent people. Now he knew that their deaths had been meaningless, that they had been nothing more than expendable pawns in the Council's game. The bridge was quiet except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Jake's crew continued their work, not knowing that their entire world was about to change. They still believed they were the good guys, fighting alongside alien friends to make the galaxy a safer place. Jake knew he had to tell them the truth, but he also knew it would destroy everything they had worked for. The trust they had built with their alien allies was based on lies. The peace they had helped create was built on human blood and sacrifice. As Jake watched the stars, he made a decision that would change everything. He would warn Earth about the Council's betrayal, and he would make sure that humanity survived whatever was coming. The aliens had made a terrible mistake in underestimating human determination and the lengths humans would go to protect their own kind. The Council thought they could use humanity and then throw them away like broken tools, but they were about to learn that humans were much more dangerous than they had ever imagined. When humanity's true nature was awakened, the galaxy would never be the same again. Image description for Leonardo AI, a futuristic spaceship bridge interior with a human male commander in a dark military uniform standing near a captain's chair, looking at a large viewing screen showing stars and space. The bridge has clean metallic walls with bright blue lighting, control panels with glowing displays, and a female lieutenant holding a datapad with a worried expression. The scene has a tense, dramatic atmosphere with cool blue and white lighting throughout the high-tech command center. Captain Rick Thompson stood on the bridge of the USS Defiant and watched the stars change position on the main screen. His ship was moving through space at incredible speed, racing toward the Kepler 442 system, where a Council research station was supposedly under attack by pirates. The message had come through the normal channels, marked as urgent and requesting immediate assistance. "How long until we reach the system?" Rick asked his navigation officer. 20 minutes, Captain," replied Lieutenant Ben Walsh. "The other ships in our battle group are keeping pace with us." Rick nodded and looked at the tactical display. He was commanding 5 human ships in total: the USS Defiant, USS Guardian, USS Striker, USS Phoenix, and USS Valor. Each ship carried a crew of 300 people, all volunteers from Earth who had joined the Council's peacekeeping fleet. Lieutenant Colonel Danny Brooks walked onto the bridge wearing his Marine combat armor. He was a tall man with short brown hair and serious eyes. Danny commanded the Marine units aboard all 5 ships, and he was responsible for any ground operations they might need to perform. "Captain, my Marines are ready for deployment," Danny reported. "If there are survivors on that research station, we'll get them out safely." "Good work, Colonel," Rick replied. "But something feels wrong about this mission. The distress signal was very brief, and we haven't received any follow-up communications from the station." Danny frowned. "What do you think is happening, sir?" "I'm not sure," Rick said. "But I want your Marines ready for anything. This could be more dangerous than it appears." As they approached the Kepler 442 system, Rick's communications officer picked up the distress signal again. The message was coming from a small space station orbiting the system's 4th planet. The signal was weak and filled with static, but they could make out enough words to understand what was happening. "This is Research Station Alpha 7, the voice said through the static. "We are under attack by unknown vessels. Our shields are failing and we have multiple casualties. Please send help immediately." Rick felt his stomach tighten. The voice sounded genuinely frightened, and he could hear explosions in the background. But something about the message still bothered him. It was too perfect, too much like the training scenarios they used to practice rescue missions. "Captain, we're entering the system now," Lieutenant Walsh announced. "I'm picking up the research station on sensors." Rick studied the tactical display. As more information appeared on the screen, the research station was exactly where it should be, orbiting the fourth planet in a slow, steady pattern. But Rick's sensors also showed something else: dozens of small objects, scattered throughout the asteroid field near the system's outer edge. "What are those objects in the asteroid field?" Rick asked his sensor operator. "I'm not sure, Captain," the young officer replied. "They're too small to be ships, but they're giving off energy readings that don't match normal asteroids." Rick's eyes widened as he realized what he was looking at. Those weren't asteroids. They were ships with their engines turned off, hiding in the asteroid field and waiting for something. "Red alert!" Rick shouted. "All ships, this is a trap. Enemy vessels are hiding in the asteroid field," but it was too late. As soon as Rick's warning went out over the communication system, the hidden ships powered up their engines and weapons. Dozens of alien vessels emerged from the asteroid field, surrounding the 5 human ships in a deadly circle. Rick recognized the ship designs immediately. There were Zephyrian cruisers with their curved hulls and blue energy weapons, Corvani, destroyers with their angular shapes and red laser cannons, Aldorian battleships with their massive size and heavy armor plating. These were the same alien species that humans had been fighting alongside for 3 years. "Captain, we're being targeted by multiple enemy vessels," his weapons officer reported. "They're charging their weapons." "All ships, evasive maneuvers," Rick commanded. "Return fire immediately." The USS Defiant rolled to the left as blue energy bolts streaked past its hull. Rick felt the ship shake as enemy fire struck their shields. The other human ships were also under attack, trying to fight their way out of the alien trap. Danny Brooks ran to the tactical station and studied the enemy formations. "Captain, there are at least 50 enemy ships out there. We're outnumbered, 10 to 1. "I can count, Colonel," Rick replied grimly. "But we're not going down without a fight." The battle was fierce and desperate. The human ships were faster and more maneuverable than most of the alien vessels, but they were heavily outnumbered. The USS Guardian took a direct hit to its engine section and began spinning out of control. The USS Striker's shields collapsed under concentrated fire from 3 Corvani destroyers. Rick watched his tactical display as red warning lights appeared next to each of his ships. The USS Phoenix was venting atmosphere from multiple hull breaches. The USS Valor was down to 20% shield strength and had lost most of its weapons. "Captain, incoming transmission from the lead Zephyrian ship," his communications officer announced. "Put it on screen," Rick ordered. The main viewer showed the blue-skinned face of Admiral Zektar, the same alien who had worked alongside humans for the past 3 years, but now his yellow eyes were cold and filled with hatred. "Captain Thompson," Zektar said in his metallic voice, "your species has served its purpose. You have cleared the dangerous sectors and eliminated the threats we could not face ourselves. But now you have become the threat. We cannot allow humanity to grow any stronger." Rick felt anger burning in his chest. "We trusted you. We fought beside you. How many humans died for your lies?" "Your deaths were necessary," Zektar replied without emotion. "Your species is too aggressive, too unpredictable. The galaxy will be safer without you." The transmission ended, and the alien ships resumed their attack with renewed intensity. Rick knew that his battle group was doomed, but he also knew that someone had to warn Earth about the Council's betrayal. "Danny, get to the communication center," Rick ordered. "Send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that the Council has betrayed us and that they're planning to eliminate our entire species." Danny nodded and ran toward the communication center as the ship shook from another enemy hit. Rick could hear the sound of metal tearing as the alien weapons tore through his ship's hull. The USS Defiant's main engines exploded, and the ship began to drift helplessly through space. Rick looked at his crew and saw fear in their eyes, but also determination. They knew they were going to die, but they also knew that their sacrifice might save Earth. "This is Captain Rick Thompson of the USS Defiant," Rick said into his communication system. "The Council has betrayed us. They used US as expendable soldiers, and now they want to destroy our entire species. Do not trust them. Prepare for war." The message was sent just as the alien ships closed in for the final attack. Rick watched the enemy fire converge on his ship and felt the USS Defiant shudder as it was torn apart by energy weapons. His last thought was of Earth and of the terrible war that was about to begin. In the depths of space, the 5 human ships were destroyed completely. But their final message was already racing toward Earth at the speed of light, carrying a warning that would change everything. Image description for Leonardo AI. A massive space battle scene showing human spaceships under attack by alien vessels in deep space. Multiple explosions and energy weapon fire create bright flashes against the dark starfield. In the foreground, a human spaceship with visible damage and hull breaches is being surrounded by sleek alien ships with curved hulls and glowing blue weapons. The scene shows the intensity of combat with laser beams, plasma bolts, and debris floating in space around the battle zone. General Lisa Parker sat in the war room deep beneath the Pentagon, staring at the message that had just arrived from space. The words on the screen made her blood run cold. Captain Thompson's final transmission was clear. The Galactic Council had betrayed humanity and was planning to destroy Earth completely. "How many ships did we lose?" Lisa asked Colonel Matt Davis, her second in command. "All 5 ships in Thompson's battle group," Matt replied. "That's 1,500 people, General. Good people who died believing they were helping to keep peace." In the galaxy, Lisa closed her eyes and took a deep breath. She had always suspected that the Council was not telling Earth the complete truth about their missions. Now she knew that humanity had been used as expendable soldiers from the very beginning. "Colonel, send the activation codes for Protocol 7, Lisa ordered. "It's time to wake up the real fleet." Matt's eyes widened. Protocol 7 was Earth's most secret military program, something that only a few dozen people knew about. "Are you sure, General? Once we activate those ships, there's no going back." "The Council made their choice when they decided to betray us," Lisa replied. "Now they'll face the consequences." 3,000 miles away, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Kevin Clark received the activation codes in his underground laboratory. The facility was called Site Delta, and it was one of the most classified locations on Earth. Kevin had been working here for 5 years, developing weapons and ships that the Council had never seen. "Sarah, start the reactor startup sequence," Kevin told his assistant, Dr. Sarah Williams. "We're going to need full power for the launch." Sarah nodded and began pressing buttons on her control panel. Around them, the massive underground facility came to life. Lights turned on in corridors that had been dark for months. Computer systems activated and began running diagnostic tests on equipment that had never been used in combat. The centerpiece of Site Delta was the USS Retribution, a warship unlike anything that had ever been built. The ship was 5 times larger than the vessels humans had been using in the Council fleet. Its hull was made from a special metal that could absorb energy weapons and redirect them back at enemies. Its weapons were designed to destroy entire planets if necessary. Captain Michelle Turner walked through the corridors of the USS Retribution, checking on her crew as they prepared for launch. Michelle had been chosen to command this ship because of her experience fighting pirates in the outer systems. She was tough, smart, and completely loyal to Earth. "Commander Wilson, what's the status of our weapon systems?" Michelle asked as she entered the ship's weapon control room. Commander Steve Wilson looked up from his instruments. "All systems are online, Captain. The quantum torpedoes are loaded and ready. The kinetic bombardment system is fully operational. We have enough firepower to level a continent." Michelle nodded. The USS Retribution was designed to be a weapon of war, not a peacekeeping vessel. Every system on the ship was built to destroy enemies as quickly and efficiently as possible. The aliens who had betrayed humanity were about to learn what humans could do when they stopped playing by the rules. In the depths of the Pacific Ocean, another secret facility was coming online. Major Nicole Adams stood in the new command center that had been built on the ocean floor. From here, she could coordinate the movements of Earth's entire secret fleet. "Major, we're receiving confirmation signals from all facilities," reported Lieutenant Tony Martinez. "The ships are powering up and will be ready for launch within 6 hours." Nicole looked at the tactical display that showed the locations of Earth's hidden shipyards. There were facilities under the Arctic ice, buried in the Sahara Desert, and hidden in the Amazon rainforest. Each facility contained dozens of warships that had been built in complete secrecy. "How many ships will we have available for the first wave?" Nicole asked. 240 vessels, Major," Tony replied. "Each one is more advanced than anything the Council has ever seen." Nicole smiled grimly. The Council thought they had destroyed humanity's military power by eliminating the ships that served in their fleet. But those ships had been nothing more than scouts and testing platforms. Earth's real military strength had been hidden away, waiting for the day when it would be needed. Dr. Clark stood in the launch bay of Site Delta and watched as the USS Retribution prepared for takeoff. The ship's engines were glowing with blue energy, and the launch bay doors were slowly opening to reveal the night sky above. "Kevin, the other facilities are reporting ready status," Sarah said. "We can begin the coordinated launch whenever you give the order." Kevin picked up his communication device and spoke into it. "This is Site Delta to all facilities. Begin launch sequence. It's time to show the galaxy what humans are really capable of." Across the Earth, hidden doors opened in mountains, deserts, and forests. Massive warships rose from underground hangars and launched into space. Each ship was crewed by volunteers who had trained for years in secret, preparing for the day when they would defend humanity from its enemies. The USS Retribution was the first ship to reach orbit. Captain Turner stood on the bridge and looked down at the blue planet below. She thought about all the humans who had died believing they were serving a noble cause. Now it was time to make sure their deaths had meaning. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from Earth Command," reported her communications officer. "Put it through," Michelle ordered. General Parker's voice came through the speakers. "This is Earth Command to all Warfleet vessels. Your mission is simple: eliminate every Council world and make sure that no alien species ever again threatens humanity's survival. Show no mercy to those who betrayed us. Make them pay for every human life they took." Michelle felt a cold anger settle in her chest. The Council had wanted to see humanity's true nature. They had pushed humans to the breaking point, thinking they could control and manipulate them. Now they would learn that humans were far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. "All ships, this is Captain Turner," Michelle announced over the fleet communication system. "We're heading for the Zephyrian home system. It's time to teach our former allies the price of betrayal." The war fleet turned away from Earth and began accelerating toward the first target. Behind them, more ships were launching every hour as Earth's hidden military might reveal itself to the galaxy. The Council had awakened something terrible in humanity, and now they would face the consequences of their actions. The peaceful humans who had served in the Council fleet were gone, replaced by warriors who would stop at nothing to protect their species. The galaxy was about to learn why humans had been feared by every species they had ever encountered. The time for mercy and cooperation was over. Now there would be only war. Image description for Leonardo I, a massive underground military facility with a huge advanced spaceship in a launch bay. The ship has a sleek, angular design with glowing blue engines and advanced armor plating. Military personnel in futuristic uniforms are working on launch platforms around the vessel. The underground hangar has metallic walls, bright industrial lighting, and massive doors opening to reveal the night sky above. The scene shows the scale and power of humanity's secret military technology being revealed for the first time. The USS Retribution dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Veltar system, home to the Zephyrian species. Captain Michelle Turner stood on the bridge and looked at the tactical display showing the alien homeworld. It was a beautiful blue and green planet with 3 moons, surrounded by orbital stations and defense platforms. "Captain, we're detecting massive celebrations on the planet's surface," reported Lieutenant Jim Parker, the ship's sensor operator. "It looks like they're having some kind of victory festival." Michelle's jaw tightened. The Zephyrians were celebrating the deaths of Captain Thompson and his crew. They thought they had won an easy victory by ambushing the human ships. They had no idea that Earth's real military was about to arrive. "How many ships are in the system?" Michelle asked. 37 Zephyrian vessels, Captain," Jim replied. "Most of them are in orbit around the planet." "They don't appear to be on high alert." Michelle smiled coldly. The aliens had grown lazy and overconfident. They thought humanity was weak and defenseless. That mistake would cost them everything. "Commander Wilson, are our stealth systems working properly?" Michelle asked. "Yes, Captain," Steve Wilson replied. From his weapons station, "Their sensors can't detect us. We're completely invisible to their technology." The USS Retribution moved silently through the system, followed by 20 other human warships. Each vessel was equipped with advanced stealth, technology that made them impossible to detect. The humans had learned this technology by studying captured alien ships, then improved it far beyond what the Council species could imagine. Colonel Ryan Foster stood in the ship's marine bay, checking his combat armor one final time. He was a big man with short black hair and scars on his face from previous battles. Ryan commanded the ground assault forces that would soon be landing on the Zephyrian homeworld. "Colonel, we're approaching the drop zone," announced Major Kate Rodriguez over the communication system. "Your Marines will be landing in 30 minutes. Ryan nodded and turned to address his troops. 200 Marines in advanced combat suits stood ready for battle. Each suit was equipped with personal shields, enhanced strength systems, and weapons that could punch through alien armor. "Listen up, Marines," Ryan said loudly. "The aliens down there celebrated when they killed our people. They thought they could betray humanity and face no consequences. Today we show them how wrong they were." The Marines cheered and began final preparations for the assault. They had trained for this mission for years, knowing that someday they would need to defend Earth from alien threats. Now that day had finally arrived. On the planet's surface, the Zephyrians continued their celebration. Admiral Zektar stood on a platform in the capital city, addressing a crowd of thousands. His blue skin gleamed in the sunlight as he spoke about the glorious victory over the humans. "The primitive species from Earth has been eliminated," Zektar announced. "Their ships are destroyed and their crews are dead. The galaxy is now safe from their aggressive nature." The crowd cheered and waved blue banners. Many Zephyrians had been worried about humanity's rapid technological advancement. Now they felt safe knowing that the threat had been removed, but their celebration was about to end. High above the planet, Admiral Linda Campbell gave the order that would change everything. She was commanding the orbital bombardment fleet from her flagship, the USS Devastator. "All ships target the military installations and government buildings," Linda ordered. "Begin bombardment on my mark." The human ships revealed themselves all at once, their stealth systems shutting down as they prepared to attack. The Zephyrians on the planet looked up in shock as dozens of massive warships appeared in their sky. "Fire!" Linda commanded. Streams of energy poured down from the human ships, striking targets across the planet with incredible precision. The Zephyrian military headquarters exploded in a ball of fire. Government buildings were reduced to rubble. Spaceports and weapon factories were completely destroyed. The aliens tried to fight back, but their orbital defense platforms were no match for human weapons. The USS Retribution fired its quantum torpedoes at the largest defense station, and the entire structure vanished in a burst of blue light down on the planet. Colonel Foster's Marines were landing in the capital city. Their drop pods crashed through buildings and landed in the streets, where they immediately began their assault. The Zephyrian military tried to resist, but their weapons couldn't penetrate the Marines' advanced armor. "Sector 7 is secure," reported Lieutenant Commander Eric Martinez over the radio. Enemy resistance is minimal. Good work, Ryan replied. Continue advancing toward the government district. We need to capture any surviving leaders. The battle for the capital city was brutal but brief. The Zephyrians had never faced enemies as well-equipped and ruthless as the human Marines. Their blue energy weapons were useless against human shields, and their ground vehicles were destroyed by portable missile launchers. Admiral Zektar tried to escape in a government shuttle, but human fighters shot him down before he could reach orbit. The alien who had ordered the ambush of Thompson's fleet died in the wreckage of his ship, along with most of the Zephyrian leadership. As the bombardment continued, entire cities were reduced to glass and ash. The humans showed no mercy to the species that had betrayed them. Every military installation was destroyed, every government building was leveled, and every spaceport was turned into a smoking crater. Lieutenant Commander Samantha Kelly stood in the communication center of the USS Retribution, recording everything that was happening. Her job was to document the destruction and broadcast it to other alien worlds. This is the fate that awaits all species who betray humanity, Samantha said into her recording device. The Zephyrians chose to ambush our ships and kill our people. Now their homeworld burns and their civilization is destroyed. The recording would be sent to every council world, showing them exactly what humanity was capable of when pushed to war. The message was simple: submit to Earth's rule or face total annihilation. After 6 hours of bombardment, the Zephyrian homeworld was a wasteland. The once beautiful planet was covered in smoke and fire. Millions of aliens were dead and their military was completely destroyed. The few survivors huddled in underground shelters, waiting for the humans to decide their fate. Captain Turner stood on the bridge of the USS Retribution and looked down at the burning planet. She felt no satisfaction from the destruction, only a cold determination to protect her species from future threats. Captain, we're receiving surrender signals from the surviving Zephyrian settlements, reported her communications officer. Ignore them, Michelle replied. They had their chance to surrender before they betrayed us. Now they face the consequences of their actions. The human fleet began preparing to leave the system. Their mission here was complete. The Zephyrian species had been eliminated as a threat to Earth, but this was only the beginning of humanity's campaign of revenge. As the USS Retribution accelerated toward the next target, the few surviving Zephyrians watched their conquerors disappear into space. They would spend the rest of their lives telling other species about the terrible price of betraying humanity. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Image. Description for Leonardo I. A massive orbital bombardment scene showing advanced human warships in space, firing bright energy beams down at an alien planet's surface. The planet below has blue and green continents with alien cities that are exploding in massive fireballs and smoke clouds. Multiple sleek, angular human spaceships with glowing weapons are positioned around the planet. The scene shows the devastating destruction of an alien homeworld with burning cities, destroyed buildings, and orbital defense platforms being obliterated by human weapons fire. The human war fleet moved through council space like a plague of death, consuming every alien world in their path. Each victory made Earth stronger as human scientists studied captured alien technology and human factories converted enemy resources into more weapons and ships. Captain Peter Grant stood on the bridge of the USS Annihilator as it approached the Corvani industrial system of Corvin Prime. The red-skinned Corvani had been among the strongest supporters of the plan to eliminate humanity. Now they would pay the price for their betrayal. Captain, we're detecting heavy industrial activity on all 7 planets in this system, reported Lieutenant Maria Santos from her sensor station. This appears to be their main manufacturing center. Peter nodded as he studied the tactical display. The Corvani had built massive factories on every world in the system, producing weapons and ships for the Council's military forces. These same factories had made the weapons used to kill Captain Thompson and his crew. How many enemy ships are defending the system? Peter asked. 68 Corvani vessels, Maria replied. They're spread across the system, protecting the most important industrial facilities, Peter smiled grimly. The Corvani thought their numbers would protect them, but they had never faced human weapons in open battle. Their red energy shields and plasma cannons were no match for Earth's advanced technology. All ships prepare for attack, Peter announced over the fleet communication system. Target their industrial facilities first. We want to cripple their ability to produce more weapons. The human fleet consisted of 40 warships, each one more advanced than anything the aliens had ever seen. As they entered the system, the Corvani defenders moved to intercept them. The aliens fired their plasma cannons, but the energy bolts harmlessly bounced off the human ship's advanced shields. "Return fire," Peter ordered. The USS Annihilator's quantum torpedoes streaked through space and struck a Corvani cruiser. The alien ship exploded instantly, its debris spreading across thousands of kilometers. Other human ships opened fire with their kinetic weapons, launching metal projectiles at incredible speeds that tore through alien hulls like paper. On the other side of Council space, Commander Rachel Davis was leading the assault on the Aldorian trade routes. The gray-skinned Aldorians controlled most of the galaxy's commerce, and their merchant fleets carried resources to every Council world. "Commander, we've intercepted another Aldorian convoy," reported her tactical officer. 15 cargo ships with 2 escort vessels. Rachel looked at the ships on her screen. These cargo vessels were carrying food, weapons, and raw materials to Council worlds that were preparing to defend themselves against humanity. By destroying these convoys, she was slowly starving the alien species of the resources they needed. "To fight. Destroy the escort ships and disable the cargo vessels," Rachel ordered. "We'll take their cargo and leave the crews in escape pods." The human attack ships moved quickly to surround the Aldorian convoy. The escort vessels tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed to fight pirates and smugglers, not advanced warships. Within minutes, both escorts were destroyed and the cargo ships were helpless. Rachel's crew boarded the alien cargo vessels and transferred their contents to human ships. Food supplies, medical equipment, and industrial materials were all taken. The Aldorian crews were allowed to escape in their lifeboats, but they would carry a message to other alien worlds about humanity's growing power. Meanwhile, the most important battle was taking place at Nexus Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Council. General Tom Anderson commanded the siege forces from his flagship, the USS Domination. The planet was protected by massive shield generators and hundreds of defensive satellites, but Tom was patient and methodical in his attack. "General, our bombardment has reduced the planetary shields to 40% strength," reported Colonel Mark Johnson. "But those shield generators are buried deep underground. It will take time to destroy them completely." Tom studied the tactical display showing the alien capital. The planet was home to 50 million beings from dozens of different species. All of them had supported the decision to eliminate humanity, and now they would face the consequences. "Continue the bombardment," Tom ordered. "But focus on military targets for now. I want to give them time to think about what they've done." The siege of Nexus Prime lasted 3 months. Human ships surrounded the planet and slowly destroyed its defenses. The aliens tried to break through the blockade several times, but every attack was repelled with heavy losses. As their shields weakened and their food supplies ran low, panic began to spread through the population. During the siege, news of humanity's victories reached every corner of the galaxy. The destruction of the Zephyrian homeworld had shocked the alien species, but many had believed it was just revenge for the ambush. Now, as human fleets systematically destroyed one council world after another, they realized that humanity intended to eliminate all of them. Some species tried to flee to the galaxy's outer rim, hoping to escape human vengeance, but Earth's ships were faster than any alien vessel, and the refugees were hunted down and destroyed before they could reach safety. Other species attempted to negotiate separate peace treaties with humanity, sending desperate messages offering surrender and tribute. Commander Ashley Roberts had been appointed as Earth's chief diplomat, but her responses to these peace offers were always the same. She would appear on communication screens across the galaxy, her cold blue eyes showing no mercy as she delivered humanity's ultimatum. "The time for negotiation is over," Ashley would say. "You had 3 years to treat humanity as equals and partners. Instead, you chose to use us as expendable soldiers and then planned our extinction. Now you will face the same fate you intended for us." The alien leaders who had once looked down on humans as primitive warriors now begged for mercy from their former servants. But Ashley's answer was always unconditional surrender or total destruction. As the siege of Nexus Prime entered its final phase, the planet's shields finally collapsed. General Anderson gave the order for the final assault, and human Marines began landing in the capital city. The Council's government buildings were stormed, and their leaders were captured or killed. The High Chancellor, who had ordered humanity's extinction, was found hiding in an underground bunker. He was brought before General Anderson, his 4 arms shaking with fear as he looked at the human commander. "Please," the alien leader begged. "We can negotiate a peaceful solution. The Council was wrong to betray your species, but surely we can find a way to coexist." Tom looked at the creature that had planned to exterminate every human in the galaxy. "You're right," he said calmly. "The Council was wrong, and now you're going to pay for that mistake." The High Chancellor was executed publicly, his death broadcast to every surviving alien world. The message was clear: the Galactic Council was finished, and humanity now ruled the galaxy. With the fall of Nexus Prime, organized resistance to the human advance collapsed. The remaining Council worlds surrendered one by one, their populations accepting occupation rather than facing the same destruction that had consumed their HOMEW or LDS. Captain Grant finished securing the Corvani system and prepared to move on to the next target. Behind him, the red planet of Corvin Prime was now covered in the smoke of burning factories. The industrial capacity that had taken the Corvani centuries to build had been destroyed in a single day. The galaxy that had once dismissed humanity as useful barbarians now trembled at the mention of Earth. The species that had betrayed their human allies were learning the true cost of awakening humanity's capacity for war. Image description for Leonardo AI: a massive space siege showing dozens of advanced human warships surrounding an alien capital planet. The planet has a large energy shield dome that is cracking and failing under bombardment, with bright weapon impacts visible across its surface. The alien world has tall spires and crystalline structures that are being destroyed by human weapons fire. Debris from destroyed alien ships floats in space around the planet. The scene shows the overwhelming power of humanity's fleet as they conduct a systematic siege of the galaxy's capital world. 6 months had passed since the Galactic Council's betrayal at Kepler 442, and the galaxy was no longer the same place. Every major alien civilization had been conquered or destroyed, their survivors living under the iron rule of Earth's new galactic empire. The stars that had once been controlled by dozens of different species now flew the blue and white flag of humanity. Admiral Jake Martinez stood on the bridge of his flagship, the USS Dominion, as it orbited the former Council world of Altara. Jake had survived the initial betrayal by staying close to Earth when the ambush happened, and now he commanded the occupation forces that kept the conquered alien populations under control. "Admiral, we're receiving another rebellion report from Sector 7, announced Lieutenant Carol Thompson, his communications officer. "A group of Altarian civilians tried to sabotage one of our mining operations." Jake sighed and looked at the tactical display. Even after 6 months of occupation, some aliens still believed they could resist human rule. They never learned that rebellion only brought more suffering to their people. "Send a squadron of Marines to deal with the rebels," Jake ordered, "and execute 10 random civilians from the nearest settlement. Make sure the other Altarians understand what happens when they defy us." Carol nodded and began transmitting the orders. The harsh punishment would remind the alien survivors that their gold lives were over. They existed now only to serve humanity's expanding empire on the planet's surface. The once proud Altarian cities had been transformed into industrial centers. The tall crystal spires that had been symbols of alien culture were now factories, producing weapons and ships for Earth's military. Millions of blue-skinned Altarians worked in these facilities, their lifespans shortened by dangerous conditions and poor treatment. Captain Amy Rodriguez walked through one of these factories, inspecting the alien workers as they assembled components for human starships. Amy had been promoted after her role in discovering the Council's betrayal, and now she supervised production on 12 different worlds. "How is productivity this month?" Amy asked the human overseer, Manager Bill Stevens. "Up 15%. From last month," Bill replied. "The aliens are learning that working harder means better food rations." "Fear is an excellent motivator," Amy nodded with satisfaction. The alien workers had quickly learned that resistance was futile. Those who worked hard received enough food to survive. Those who worked slowly or caused problems were sent to the punishment camps, where few ever returned. In the center of what had once been Council space, the former capital world of Nexus Prime had been renamed New Terra. This planet now served as the headquarters for humanity's galactic government. The alien buildings had been torn down and replaced with human architecture, and the population centers were filled with human colonists from Earth. Captain Amy Rodriguez had been assigned to establish the new capital after the conquest was complete. She stood in the governor's palace, a massive building constructed on the ruins of the old council chambers. From her office windows, she could see human ships landing and taking off constantly, carrying resources from conquered worlds back to Earth. "Governor Rodriguez, the monthly production reports from all occupied systems have arrived," announced her assistant, Secretary Tom Williams. "Resource extraction is exceeding our projections by 20%. Amy smiled as she reviewed the data. The alien worlds were proving to be incredibly valuable sources of raw materials and labor. Rare metals that had taken Earth decades to mine could be extracted from alien planets in massive quantities. The conquered species provided a workforce that asked for no wages and required only basic food to survive. "Excellent work," Amy said. "What about the colonization programs?" "We've successfully established human settlements on 47 worlds," Tom replied. "Each settlement is protected by a military garrison and supported by alien labor. The colonists report that living conditions are much better than on Earth." The colonization program had been one of humanity's most successful policies. Millions of humans had volunteered to leave Earth and start new lives on alien worlds. These colonists lived in comfort and luxury, served by alien populations who had no choice but to obey their human masters on the planet Corvan, former home of the Corvani species. Human colonist Janet Martinez tended to her garden while red-skinned Corvani slaves worked in the fields around her house. The aliens who had once been proud warriors and engineers were now reduced to manual laborers, forbidden from using their advanced technology or education. "Make sure those irrigation channels are dug properly," Janet called to the Corvani workers. "If the water doesn't flow correctly, you'll have to dig them again." The aliens worked without complaint, their heads down and their spirits broken. They had learned that speaking back to humans or showing any sign of defiance resulted in severe punishment. The Corvani culture that had existed for thousands of years was being systematically erased and replaced with human customs and laws. Back on New Terra, the human government was planning the next phase of expansion. Commander Ashley Roberts, now serving as Minister of Alien Affairs, was reviewing reports about species that had remained neutral during the war. "Minister, we've identified 17 species that didn't join the Council's attack on humanity," reported her aide, analyst Kevin Moore. "They've been requesting permission to establish trade relationships with our empire." Ashley studied the list of neutral species. These aliens had been smart enough to stay out of the conflict, but that didn't mean they could be trusted. Humanity had learned the hard lesson that all alien species were potential threats. "Send them our standard terms," Ashley decided. "Complete submission to human authority, surrender of all military forces, and acceptance of our occupation administrators. Any species that refuses these terms will be classified as hostile." The neutral species had watched in horror as humanity destroyed the Council worlds. They had seen the orbital bombardments, the mass executions, and the complete subjugation of billions of beings. Most chose to accept human rule rather than face the same fate as the Zephyrians and Korvani in the Outer Rim territories. The few remaining free alien settlements lived in constant fear of human discovery. These refugees had managed to escape the initial conquest, but they knew that Earth's ships were constantly expanding their search patterns. Eventually, every corner of the galaxy would be under human control, on a small moon in an unnamed system. A group of Aldorian survivors huddled around a weak fire, sharing their meager food supplies. They had once been wealthy merchants with ships and trading posts across the galaxy. Now they were homeless refugees, hiding from the species they had helped to betray. "Do you think the humans will ever stop hunting us?" asked one of the younger. Aldorians. The eldest survivor, a gray-skinned female named Valara, shook her head sadly. "No, child. We awakened something terrible in them. They will never forgive, and they will never forget. Our species chose to betray them, and now we face extinction." The conversation was interrupted by the sound of engines in the distance. Human patrol ships were conducting another sweep of the system, searching for survivors and refugees. The Aldorians quickly extinguished their fire and hid in the rocky caves. Knowing that discovery meant death or slavery, Admiral Martinez received the patrol report later that day. Another group of alien refugees had been captured and processed for slave labor. The galaxy was slowly being cleansed of free alien populations, leaving only those who served humanity's empire. As Jake looked out at the stars from his ship's bridge, he reflected on how much had changed since the Council's betrayal. The naive humans who had trusted alien promises were gone forever. In their place stood an empire that would never again show mercy to potential enemies. The species that had once looked down on humans as primitive barbarians now served as slaves in human mines and factories. The galaxy that had tried to eliminate humanity now existed only to serve Earth's growing power and ambition. The Council's betrayal had indeed awakened Earth's war fleet, and destruction had followed exactly as promised. But the destruction had not ended with humanity's enemies. It had consumed the old galaxy entirely, replacing it with a new order where humans ruled absolutely and alien species existed only at humanity's pleasure. The stars themselves had become witnesses to the price of betraying Earth, and they would remember that lesson for eternity. Image description for Leonardo AI. A massive, alien planet surface showing a human colonial city with Earth-style architecture surrounded by industrial facilities and mining operations. In the foreground, various alien species with different skin colors work as laborers under the supervision of human overseers in military uniforms. Human starships patrol the skies above, while alien refugees can be seen in chains being escorted to work camps. The scene shows the complete dominance of humanity over their former alien allies, with Earth flags flying over conquered alien territories and humans living in luxury while aliens serve as slaves.